HaKadosh Baruch Hu Masechet Yoma Daf 46a1. The Gemara says we are one line down where it says Amar Rabbi Elazar Mishum Bar Kapara. Says Rabbi Elazar named Bar Kapara. Omer Haya Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir used to say, Evre Ola Shnitoteru Oseh Lahen Ma'aracha Bifnei Atzman Vesodran Vafilu B'Shabbat. If you have the Evre Ola, which means the limbs of an Ola offering, that they were left over, so you have to make a special fire just for them, and then you're going to set it up, and even on Shabbat you would do that. So, my Kamashman, what's a chidush, right? So, Tanina, we already learned it. Bechol yom ayu shamar ba marachot. There were 4 marachot. So, therefore, one of the marachot were going to be obviously for one that all the limbs and everything that they weren't consumed during the nighttime. So, Amar Rabbi Avin says Rabbi Avin, lo nitzecha. What are we dealing with? Ela lepsulin. We're talking about the chidush is during the weekday if it's going to be for a psul, which means that, for example, you had evarim v'chalavim psulim. So, in such a case, you would also have like a special one, a special fire just for them. The dafka shemashla b'enahur, but that's only if the fire already started consuming them during the nighttime. Aval lo mashla b'enahur, but if the fire didn't start consuming them during the nighttime, lo, then we don't say that, which means we don't make a special maracha if it wasn't going to be consumed during the nighttime. Remember that the mitzvah, the limbs and everything, on the nighttime you just put it on the fire. It starts burning, but sometimes it didn't finish the fire. So then the next day you would have to make a special manacha just for them. So that's what we're saying. That's only if they started during the night. Ika de Amri, there are those that say, Echad ksharim ve'echad psulin, im asha b'ena'ur in lo. He says whether it's kosher or pasul, which that means whether limbs and the fats were kosher or they were psulim. In such a case, only if the fire started consuming in the nighttime, then you're going to make a special manacha. But if not, you're not going to make a special manacha. And then in the Gemara said, even on Shabbat. Fine. Tanina, we already learned to the Mishnah. Vayom on Kippur, we do 5 manachot. According to everybody, remember, we did an extra manacha on Kippur. So Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, says Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Itzrich. We still need the words of Bar Kapara. Why? The Sakadai Tanina, I would have thought to say, Hanimila, one of these words, only if Kippur fell out after Shabbat, which means only if Kippur fell out on Sunday. Because the chelev of the Shabbat, the fats of Shabbat, they are going to be brought on Kippur. Aval be'emtza Shabbat, but if it's going to be during the week, then no, right? Because then you're not allowed to make a fire on Kippur to burn the things which were needed for yesterday, which was of the fats and limbs of yesterday. Shvanan comes teach you, right, that even if Shabbat or Kippur fell out in the middle of the week, still according to Rabbi Meir, you're going to make a special one for a special fire for all the ones which were done yesterday, right? And they didn't completely consume. Okay? Amar Rava says, Manahai delochai shlekimche. Right? Who's this guy that he doesn't even sieve his flour, which means he's not medaktek in his words. Ha bechol yom tra. Our Mishnah said mefurash. Bechol yom were 4 manachot, and then it said that on Kippur you do 5. So bechol yom is mashma even on Shabbat. So therefore, what are you telling me? You're giving me a big kiddush. If it comes out, even if it comes out on Shabbat, well, it says bechol yom. Bechol yom means every day. Every day of the week, doesn't matter, including Shabbat, it would be 4. And on Kippur it was 5. So I don't care when Shabbat was, when Kippur was, it's always going to be the same day. So Kasha, Bemet, is a good question. Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Now it says the Gemara, Ufliket Rav Huna, and this argues on Rav Huna. He says, why? He says, Tchilato docha, sofo eno doche. He says the beginning, right? The beginning of the Avodat Tamim is going to push off the Shabbat, but the end of the Avodat Tamim does not push off the Shabbat, which means that according to him, only the beginning part, which means that you're going to come and bring it on Shabbat, that pushes off the Shabbat. But anything which is at the end, which is burning of the limbs, that doesn't push off the Shabbat. Yeah, that is supposed to, it's not supposed to push off the Shabbat. So Gufa Amar Rav Huna says Rav Huna, Tamin, Tchilato docha, sofeno docha. So only the beginning of the Korban Tamin pushes off the Shabbat, not the end. Ma'inoch docha. What does it mean that it's not going to push off the Shabbat? Rav Chasta says, Dochet Shabbat, v'no dochet Tumah. He says, no, the kavanah is that it pushes off Shabbat, but it doesn't push off Tum'ah, which means that it is pushed off on Shabbat, even the end part of the Korban, right? But when we're talking about over here, the Rav Huna is being mechalek, right, between all these different things, it's talking about the tchila is going to be doche, the tum'ah, but the end is not going to be doche, the tum'ah. But to do the Shabbat, it does push everything off. Rabba argues and he says, Dochet Tumah, the opposite. It's Dochet Tumah, but not Dochet the Shabbat. Which means that the kavanah is that it's not going to be Dochet the Shabbat, the end part of the Korban Tamid, right? But, right, and therefore you're not allowed to, put the limbs and everything on it. But Tum'ah is going to be pushed off because of it. Okay?
What do you mean by push off?
Push off means that it's Doche, which means that it doesn't become Tameh. Meaning just like Shabbat is pushed off, it means you're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbat. Meaning Ki'ilu, it's not Shabbat. That's what it means, pushed off Shabbat. To do Tumah, the same thing. To do a Tumah, it's Ki'ilu, that it's not Tameh. Nothing gets Tameh. So that was the Machloket. Is it push off the Tumah or doesn't push off the Tumah? Machloket of Chasta and Rabbah. Okay? Then it says, Amar le Abaye, says Abaye le Rabbah to Rabbah. The Didach Kashya, to you there's going to be a question. And Rav Chasta Kashya, basically there's a question on both of you. The Gemara many times does that. You have an opinion, he has an opinion, and they're going to say, you have a question, and he has a question. You both have a question against you. And then we're going to explain why. Le Didach, according to you, Kashya, Maishna Tuma, what's the difference between Tuma that it's written B'moado, Va'afilu B'tuma? B'moado means that you have to bring it in its proper time, and even if it's going to be Tameh. Shabbat Nami, it's also written B'moado, Va'afilu B'Shabbat. Which means, why are you making a differentiation between Shabbat and Tuma? It should be the exact same thing. Just like it's going to push off the Tuma, it should push off the Shabbat. Rav Chasta also is the question, Maishna Shabbat, what's the difference between Shabbat that it's written in B'moado, even in Shabbat? Tuma, it's also written in B'moado. Which means what we're trying to say is, both of them made a differentiation between Shabbat and Tuma. The only thing is, Rav Chasta says it pushes off Shabbat, but not Tumah, and Rabbah says it pushes off Tumah, but not Shabbat. The question on both of them, to make a very quick summary, is they're both supposed to be the same halachot. It says b'moado by both. So if it says b'moado by both, meaning the same halachot which apply to Tumah should apply to Shabbat. The same halachot apply to Shabbat apply to Tumah. So what do you say? So answers the Gemara. Amalei says Rabbah to Abaye, lo ledidi kashya velo Rav Chasta kashya. He answers, it's not a question, not for me, not for my friend. He answered it for both.
Both are wrong.
No, both are right. Why? Both are right. It's not a question, not to me and not to my friend. Why? It's not a question for me. Because according to me, there's no question that the end of the korban is like the beginning of the korban. Okay? Which means, Tum'ah, Memvava Mubet, 46b. Tum'ah, Tetchilato bar nidcha Tum'ahu, he says to do a Tum'ah, since at the beginning, right, it's pushing off the Tum'ah. So too the end. Which means at the beginning of the Korban Tamid, it doesn't receive Tum'ah. And therefore, if the Kohen is not Tahor and he's throwing the right, that means basically, let's say there's no Kohen Tahor. There's no pure Kohen that he could throw the blood. Get a Kohen Tameh, and he's going to throw the blood. He's going to sprinkle the blood. So Fona Midache, so to the end, it's also going to be Doche, the Tum'ah. But Shabbat, the Tchilato Lav Bar Minche Shabbatu. By Shabbat, it's not going to push off at the beginning, which means the Shchita and the Zrikat of the Dam, of the Tamid, is always done on Erev Shabbat. So it's not fitting to push off the Shabbat. Why? Because Shchitato is always during the afternoon, which means before the Shkia. And also the sprinkling of the blood is before the Shkia. So if so he says, so the end, which is the burning of the limbs, also not going to push off the Shabbat. Basically, what is he saying? He's saying the Tum'ah, from the beginning, it's already pushed off. So toward the end, it's pushed off. By the Shabbat, it's not pushed off at the beginning. Because when do you have to bring the sacrifice? On Friday afternoon. Right? So therefore, if on Friday afternoon, which is Tchilato, it doesn't push off the Shabbat. So toward Shabbat, it's not going to push off. So you can't burn the limbs and everything on Shabbat. Okay, that's the answer according to Rabbah. According to Rav Chasta Lakashia, Sofo Kitchilato Letle. He doesn't hold the end like to the beginning. Which means that he doesn't hold this concept just like at the end, so to the beginning, end. He doesn't hold this. First Shabbat, Utrawi Tzibur. First Shabbat was permitted for the Tzibur, which means that since it's a Korban Tzibur, it was completely permitted to bring a sacrifice, a communal sacrifice on Shabbat. Sofo Namidache. So too at the end, it's going to push off also as well. But by Tumah was not Hutra Betzibur, it was Dechuyahu Betzibur. Dechuya means it's pushed off, but it's not that it's permitted. There's a concept between utra and dechuya. Dechuya means you have like a dechuy. Dechuy is like you have an exemption. But it's not that there's no problem with it. It's just you have an exception. Here, it's not an exemption. Hutra means it's completely permitted. There's a difference between an exemption and permitted. You understand? Some people, they're permitted, right, that they, for example, they don't have to go to the army, right? So they have, there's called something which is called a tur, and then there's something which is, it was never shayach to them. Tur means technically they should go, but they have something stopping them that are allowing them to continue. So as long as that continues, they're allowed to. Other people, they have a heter that doesn't even start by them, meaning we don't have to look at it again. The second they got the heter, they got this permission, they never need a permission again. So that's called hutra and dechuya. So Shabbat was hutra b'tzibur. He says here tum'ah, he says was only dechuya b'tzibur. So tchilato di'ikar kapara, by the beginning of the korban, which are the four avodot of the blood, which is the slaughtering, the receiving of the blood, and the taking of the blood, and the sprinkling of the blood. That's the ikar kapara. Dache, it's going to push off. That's the ta'ara, right? The tumah. But so for the end, which is only bringing the limbs, telavi ikar kapara. It's not the main part of the kapara. Lo dache, it's not going to push it off. Itmar, it was stated. If somebody's going to turn off the fire of the coals, which are in the shovel, or of the menorah, Abai says he's going to be chayav lashes. We give them atigasos. We come and we beat them up. Yeah, we give them lashes. Rava Amar Rava says patur. Right, they're going to be exempt. The kavya beroshot shel mizbeach. If they turned it off at the beginning, at the top of the mizbeach, according to everybody, they're going to say that you're going to be chayav. When are they arguing? When he took it down and then he turned it off on the bottom. Meaning, if he turned it off on the top of the mizbeach, according to everybody, you get lashes. But here we're talking about you took the fire off the mizbeach and then you turned it off on the bottom. That's the machloket. Abai says you're going to be chayav, but it says esha mizbeach, who still came from the mizbeach. But Rava says you're going to be pasur. Why? Given the not kenitka, but the second that you detached it from the mizbeach, it's not the fire of the mizbeach anymore. But that which Rav Nachman said, name Rabba Baravua, hamorid gachelet me'al gabe mizbeach lekiba chayav. If you're going to take down coals from the mizbeach and then you're going to turn it off, you're going to be chayav. Kiman, who does this go like? Like Abaye. So says the Gemara, no. Afilu te'mekarav. You could say that even goes according to Rava. Hatam lo intik mitzvata. There, you didn't detach it for its mitzvah, which means when you took it off from the mizbeach, it was for another mitzvah. So therefore, it's still considered esha mizbeach. But here, right, it was actually taken down for the mitzvah, for another mitzvah, because since you made it for a new mitzvah, so therefore it's not considered esha mizbeach anymore. But rather it's considered esh machtar or esh menorah. So because of that, if you're going to turn it off, you're going to be patur. So therefore, don't bring me a proof to Abaye, right? It could even go according to Rava as well. Okay, but remember, there you were talking about that you took off the gachelet from the mizbeach and then you turned it off. Okay, fine. Ikadamri, there are those that say, if you took it down from the mizbeach and then you turned off the fire, everyone says you're going to be patur. Meaning we flipped it. Beforehand, we said that everybody agrees that if it was on the mizbeach, you're going to be chayav, and if it's off the mizbeach, machloket Rav and Abai. Now we're saying the opposite way. If it's off the mizbeach, everybody says you're going to be patur. When is the machloket? Kiplige, right? The pelige is the kavya beroshot shel mizbeach, and you're going to turn it off at the top of the mizbeach. Abaye says you're going to be chayav. Why? Because it says shel mizbeach. Rava says you're going to be patur. Kevan nitka, because once you've detached it, you've detached it. But that which Rav Nachman says the name of Rav, if you're going to take off coals from the mizbeach and then you're going to turn it off, you're going to be chayav. Who's it going like? It's not like Abaye, not like Rava. So says the Gemara, there in the case of Rav Nachman, we're talking about that it wasn't taken off for another mitzvah. So therefore, it's still considered esha mizbeach. Therefore, even though you took it down, you didn't take it down for any other purpose. So it's esha mizbeach. You turn it off, you're chayav. Here, if you took it down and you wanted to do another mitzvah with it, it's not considered anymore esha mizbeach, and therefore you're going to be patur. Hadran alach taraf bekalpe. Kakadosh, we're continuing with Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. This is the new chapter, chapter 5, new perek. Okay, so it says here, Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. Hotziu lo et hakaf et hamachta. If they took him out, the ladle and the shovel. Okay, so the kaf is the ladle and the machta is the shovel. So they take it out for him. This is continuing, obviously, the Yom Kippur service of the Kohen Gadol. So what he used to do was he used to scoop his handful like this, right? He used to pick it up, and then he used to place it, right, in the ladle. Hagadol lefi gadlo, which means a big Kohen Gadol according to his large size, and a small Kohen Gadol according to his small size. And that was the required measure. So he used to take the shovel in his right hand and the ladle in his left hand. Okay, so the shovel in the right, ladle in the left. Says the Gemara, Machta Tanale, concerning the shovel, right? The Mishnah already taught that the Kohen Gadol used to take the shovel, he used to go up to the top of the Mizbeach, and then he used to scoop up from everything which was consumed, the coals which were on the inside, and then he used to come down. Now the Gemara is saying, 1 second, why does it say here that he had to bring the shovel out with him, right? When he already used it. If he already used it, why is he bringing the shovel? So answers the Gemara, Hata mechate begechalim vehacha mechate dektoret. There in the previous Mishnah, we were talking about that the shovel was used for scooping up the coals, the gechalim. Here we're talking about that the shovel was used to scoop up the ketoret, the incense. Titania, as we learned in the Braita, they used to take out an empty ladle from the lishkata kelim, from the chamber of the utensils. And he used to take out a shovel which was filled with incense from the bet of tinas. Remember, the bet of tinas was where they used to do the ketoret, so that's when they used to take it out. Okay, very good. 2 dots. The Mishnah said, "Chafam lo chufna v'noten kol kaf gadol lefi godlo ve'katan lefi kodno ve'kach tamid eta." So the Kohen Gadol used to come and take his scoopfuls, right? His cupped hands full of incense, and then he used to put it in the ladle. Okay, and then obviously according to the size of the Kohen Gadol, that was big, he had a bigger palms. Smaller. So it all depends. Says the Gemara, kaf yom kippurim. Normally, why do I need a kaf? Why do I need the ladle? So says the Gemara, meloch ofnaf vehevi amarachmana. It says that he has to bring meloch ofnaf, which is a full cupped hands full, and then he says he has to bring it. So he has to bring it to the curtain. He needs something to bring it to the curtain. He's not going to bring it. So then why is the ladle brought out? So says the Gemara, mishum de shad, because if it wasn't possible, you couldn't bring it to the curtain without having a ladle. Hechi navid, how's he going to do it? If he's going to go inside with a shovel of coals and then enter with the incense, he has to bring it in one shot, not 2 shots, which means that he has to bring it in one go. He's not supposed to come in and out, in and out, in and out. It's supposed to be one trip. Okay? So if he's going to take the ketoret in his palms, and then he's going to put the shovel on top of it, and then he's going to go inside. When he gets there, how does he do it? Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, how's he going to perform the service? He's got his hands and then the shovel on top of his hands. How's he going to do it? He needs his hands, right? So he says, if he's going to hold the shovel in his teeth and place it down on the ground so he can put the incense on top of it, you don't do that in front of the king. Now you're going to do it in front of obviously you're not going to do that in front of the king. Well, you're going to put it in the teeth and then he's going to start coming in with it. It's not kavod. So it says, that's why it's impossible. Right? So therefore we found by the Nisim, they had a shovel and a ladle. So because of that, we're also going to come and have this ladle as well. Ladle is un cucharon. Okay? Fine. Next 2 dots. You're going to take the machta on the right hand and the kaf, so the machta, the shovel in the right hand, and the ladle on the left hand. Okay, so says the Gemara, Yatziva be'ara figura b'shmei shmaya. According to this arrangement, the citizen is on the ground and the alien is up high in heavens, which means that this is already brought down. According to everybody, it was only logical that people that are citizens have more rights and more benefits than an alien, than a stranger, right? Think about it. People that are coming, right? Nowadays, sometimes there's v'nafochu. You understand? Right? Which means that it's only normal. How would you find it? It's only normal that a citizen has much more rights and benefits than strangers. A stranger doesn't have any rights and benefits. So says the Gemara, the same thing should happen here, right? If it's going to be in such a case, the main component of the avodah is the ketoret. So the ketoret should be in the right hand, and the coals should be in the left hand, not the opposite. Here you're putting the ketoret in the left hand and the coals on the right hand. What do I care about the coals? I care about the ketoret. So says the Gemara, Zu merubav and zu mu'eter. No, the reason why is because the shovel of coals is much more. So therefore, since you have much more, that's why it's going to be in the right hand than the ketoret, which is in the left hand. And even if they're both going to be equal, just like the story of Rabbi Shimon ben Kichid, this one, the shovel of the coals is hot, and the other ones is cold. I mean, the coals are hot coals. The ketoret is cold. So because of that, that's why we're saying that we're putting it in that hand. Remember that the right hand, right, majority, you have to actually, not the majority. You have to be a righty to be a kohen, which does the service in the Beit HaMikdash. You cannot be a lefty. Yes. If you're a lefty, I'm a lefty. If I'm a lefty, I'm disqualified. I cannot be a kohen. We have a kohen here that's a lefty. So he always, they joke around because technically speaking, if he would have to work on Bet Midrash, he's disqualified. Being a lefty is disqualified. So that means the right hand was a strong hand. So now, if you're going to tell me now that you're going to put in the strong hand, the less proportion, right, the ketoret, or something which is cold, or something, so it doesn't make sense. Because you need your strong hand for something that's going to be hot, or for something that's going to be more in numbers, or so that's why the shovel with the coals is going to be in the right hand, and in the left hand, so the weaker hand is going to be the ketoret. Okay? Amru alav al Rabbi Shimon ben Kimchit. They said on Rabbi Shimon ben Kimchit, Shayach ofen arbat kavim milo chofnav. He used to scoop up 4 kabin of ketoret in his hands. Ve'omer, and he used to say, Kol anashim zirzu vezered ima alai legag. All women received zarid, but my mother's zarid rose up to the roof. That means my mother's was superior to any other women. Right? What does that mean? That means basically he said that all women, right, they receive, right, they're like I don't know how you say zarid in English, but like, like a flower. But my mother's, her rose rose up to the ceiling. Why? The Gemara is going to explain. Ika damri, some people say we're talking about the arsan, which is like a cereal such as arsan. Rabbi Bar Yonatan, just like Rabbi Bar Yonatan. Rabbi Bar Yonatan, Rabbi Yechiel, besides Rabbi Yonatan, name Rabbi Yechiel. Arsan yafeh lechole. Arsan is good for a sick person. Ika damri, and some people say it's good for, right, shichvat zera, right, which was formed, like Rabbi Yavu. Rabbi Yavu Rami, because Rabbi Yavu comes and he asks a contradiction. You have to gird yourself for battle. You have to strengthen yourself for battle. It's written that you girded me with strength for the battle, which means, who is it then? Is it with an aleph or without an aleph? What's going on exactly? So Amar David Zeritani v'zerastani. David Melech comes and he says in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu, master of the universe, you winnowed me and you girded me. Means you made me and you gave me the strength as well. Right? That's what he said. You gave me strength. So Amru alav Rabbi Shimon ben Kimchit. He once was on Kippur speaking with an Aravi in the marketplace, and his droplets of saliva from the Aravi came onto his garments, and therefore makes him tameh. So his brother Yeshivav entered and served as Kohen Gadol instead of him. So the mother Kimchit saw 2 Kohenim Gadolim on the same day, because he became disqualified, and therefore, right, his brother did it for him. So the mother saw 2 Kohanim Gadolim on the same day. Okay? Now it's something incredible that he was talking to this Arab merchant in the market. So here it says in the footnote, he left during a pause between the 2 avodot in order to discuss an important matter with the Arab. So according to this version, it was an Arab king, right? Which explains why the Kohen Gadol felt so much that he had to leave on Kippur in order to speak to this king. Okay? Veshuv amru alav Rabbi Yishmael ben Kimchit. Then they further related on Rabbi Yishmael ben Kimchit. He went out on Kippur to speak to a certain lord. His brother Yosef came in and he served as Kohen Gadol. At that time, it says again, the mother saw 2 Kohanim Gadolim on the same day. Right? So again, he became disqualified. I don't know, he didn't take the message the first time around. This is the second time already. And again, he became disqualified. Shiva banim ayu, Tanu Rabbanan Gamliel Braita, Shiva banim ayula lekimchit. There were 7 boys, 7 children that Kimchit had. Vekulan shimshu bekuna gedola. All of them became Kohanim Gadolim. You know what a zechut that is? That all the children, and they all became Kohanim Gadolim. That's an incredible zechut. You understand? So he says, no, we just said it. Because, for example, you became disqualified twice, and those 2 times were other 2 brothers. So that was already 3 in one shot, right? That's what it says over here. It was 3 in one shot. So here it says the Braita does not mean that they died and then they were succeeded, because if not, that's not something good, right? But that obviously it had to be like different cases because of this. Yeah, because remember, there's always a skunk Kohen Gadol. The skunk Kohen Gadol is the one which is like second in command. Now, the second in command was the brother. So therefore, when one became disqualified, the other one took place. He was like the substitute. Okay? So Amru la chachamim. So they said chachamim, right? He says, ma asit shezachit lekach. Right? What exactly does it mean that you were zochet to this? Right? So he says over here, Amru la chachamim, the chachamim said, Amra lahem, she replied, mi'amai lo ra'u korot beti kale sari. Right? They never saw, my house never saw my hair. The braids of my hair. Meaning they never saw my hair. I was always very careful. Amrula, they said, Harbuas velo hilu. A lot of people did that, but it didn't help. So what happened? So I'm going to finish with Divrei Musar. First of all, here, do you realize that this, by the way, I once had a rabbi, his name was Rav Weitzman. He was the one that wrote the Sefer Galut Ishmael from Arachim. He wrote Galut Ishmael, the Ishmaelite exile. Okay, and there's something incredible. What happened is that over there, he once told us that in Morocco, his mother did that. What does that mean? She used to have like two Arab workers that they used to put towels around her, and then she used to uncover her hair and comb her hair within towels. Meaning she didn't just come here, take off the thing and now start combing her hair in front of the walls. Not even the walls of her house saw her hair. It was like mamash, like enclosed area that nobody could see. Mamash like that. But I'm going to tell you a musar that I heard in the name of, I think it was Rav Michael Peretz, if I remember correctly, that he went and he said, what's the pshat in this Gemara? The Gemara says that she had 7 children and all 7 became Kohanim Gedolim. So why? Because of the mitzvah of tzniut, right? But then the Gemara says, one second, but there were a lot of people that did it and they didn't receive this tzniut. Yeah? So here it says, but it doesn't guarantee anything. So he went and he answered very simple. The reason why she was zocha to this was because for her, the mitzvah was so important, it was equal to 7 children becoming Kohanim Gedolim. Meaning sometimes we do a mitzvah, but we get paid for the mitzvah according to the value that we put to the mitzvah. So therefore, for me, if the mitzvah is, it's a regular mitzvah, so okay, so you get paid like a regular mitzvah. But if in my eyes, this mitzvah is such an important mitzvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us a reward according to how we appreciate and how we give the true value of the mitzvah. You understand? That's a musar. It's a beautiful musar. But that means according to that, a lot of people did it, but they didn't help. No, because not all the people had the same mindset and the same intention and the perspective that she had. She had such a perspective that she knew it was such an important mitzvah. She was zocha to have 7 children, Kohanim Gedolim, because of this merit. Other people, they didn't have that. But we'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem tonight.